It was Monday evening in a bustling metropolis, precisely 6:45 p.m., rush hour. That special time of day when even the most relentlessly upbeat individuals were forced to concede that human ingenuity had yet to conquer the age-old conundrum. Effortlessly traversing from point A to point B, Sophia, 25, found herself engaged in a gladiatorial struggle with her vintage scooter, desperately trying to snake through the sluggish river of vehicles that had congealed on a major city thoroughfare. Tiny beads of sweat dotted her forehead, a subtle sheen beneath the grime of exhaust fumes that stung her eyes. Her stomach, meanwhile, was staging a full-blown protest, issuing a series of increasingly insistent growls. Sophia was, to put it mildly, famished. Yet ever the optimist, or perhaps just stubbornly cheerful, she muttered a dryly humorous complaint, more to herself than anyone else. Honestly, this city, are we destined to be eternally gridlocked? I'm starting to suspect rush hour in Hades is a smoother operation. Still good-naturedly griping, Sophia nudged her scooter forward, each inch gained feeling like a minor victory hard-won. Her gaze, betraying a flicker of wistfulness, drifted towards the sidewalk. There a handful of couples were engaged in that peculiar human ritual of strolling hand-in-hand, seemingly oblivious to the urban chaos, basking in the balmy summer air. A sharp pang of envy, swiftly followed by a wry, self-aware chuckle, rippled through Sophia. Look at them, all neatly paired off, while I'm out here battling traffic on a sputtering scooter, mainlining exhaust fumes. Seriously, destiny must have eternally single stamped on my forehead. There's just no escaping it. She mused, delivering her own sardonic diagnosis of her definitively dateless existence, and sighed, a puff of air that vanished almost instantly in the city's relentless roar. At long last, a small cafe swam into view, a welcoming mirage in the desert of concrete and car fumes. Sophia expertly guided her scooter to the curb, deployed the kickstand with practiced ease, and then gratefully slumped into a vacant armchair strategically positioned out front. The cafe's decor aimed for a minimalist meets cozy vibe, achieving it with muted tones, strategically placed warm lighting, and an almost aggressively gentle acoustic pop soundtrack. It was, in essence, a carefully constructed pocket of urban tranquility. Sadly, Sophia's internal weather system was registering a solid 0 on the tranquility scale, a rather pointed contrast to the cafe's meticulously crafted ambience. Sophia, at 25, was undeniably appealing. Pretty even, some might venture, if she ever decided to unlock the transformative potential of makeup or embrace clothing with even a hint of flamboyance. Instead, and perhaps as a quiet act of rebellion against the relentless pressure to conform, she remained steadfastly loyal to a style that hovered somewhere between minimalist and invisible. Plain white tees were her canvas, blue jeans her constant companion, and scuffed white sneakers her footwear of choice. This was her daily uniform, a sartorial statement of comfortable practicality. Her long black hair, typically wrestled into a hasty ponytail, framed a face that was, for all intents and purposes, makeup-free. The overall effect was one of fresh-faced charm, certainly, but also a subtle undercurrent of weariness, the faint but persistent fatigue of a young woman perpetually navigating the city's relentless currents. Sophia was the kind of person you could pass on any street corner in this sprawling metropolis, easily overlooked in a crowd, yet somehow subtly memorable, thanks to her gentle demeanor and a certain underlying vulnerability that softened her features. Sophia's personality was a near-perfect echo of her understated aesthetic, introverted, thoughtful, and with a pronounced inclination towards quiet contemplation. She treasured solitude, retreating whenever possible into her personal sanctuary of books, carefully curated playlists, and the occasional burst of spontaneous writing. Her inner world was a vibrant landscape of romanticism, populated by elaborate daydreams of fairytale courtships, where grand destinies and sweeping romantic gestures invariably triumphed over mundane obstacles. Reality, however, possessed a rather inconvenient habit of swerving sharply away from these pastel-hued fantasies, abruptly depositing her back into the less-than-glamorous territory of overdue bills, fleetingly significant relationships, and a low-grade but persistent sense of being utterly, profoundly alone. Sophia's current employment situation was, in many ways, a perfect metaphor for this inherent instability. Professionally described as a multi-hyphenate freelancer, a term that sounded far more impressive than it actually was, Sophia cobbled together a living from a patchwork of freelance writing assignments, sporadic translation gigs, and the occasional foray into the lucrative, if creatively stifling, world of advertising content. Her income, while technically existent, barely scraped the surface of her monthly expenses, leaving precisely 0 wiggle room for extravagant purchases, let alone long-term financial planning. Romance, predictably, followed a similar trajectory of precariousness. A handful of brief, ultimately doomed relationships had left her resolutely single at 25, an age when many of her peers were enthusiastically embracing the joys and terrors of cohabitation, marriage, and the baffling logistics of infant care. Sophia's family, bless their traditional, well-meaning hearts, remained steadfastly focused on her marital prospects, or rather the distinct lack thereof. Each parental phone call, no matter the ostensible pretext, reliably devolved into a gentle but persistent inquiry. "So, Sophia, darling, any husband-shaped prospects on the horizon?" Sophia, hardened by years of these well-intentioned interrogations, had perfected the art of the weary smile and the strategically deployed subject change. One might, with a certain degree of accuracy, label Sophia a drama queen, albeit a distinctly low-key, almost apologetically quiet drama queen. Her dramatic tendencies manifested primarily in the privacy of her own mind, played out on the internal stage of her overactive imagination. She was prone to elaborate daily lamentations about her prolonged single status, prone to bouts of intense self-criticism regarding her perceived lack of sparkle, and prone to meticulously curated comparisons of herself to impossibly idealized figures encountered online. She could, and frequently did, lose entire afternoons to scrolling through the meticulously curated Instagram feeds of ex-boyfriends, silently berating herself for her failure to achieve the levels of beauty, captivating charm, or unquestionable success displayed by their current, invariably more glamorous partners. And yet, despite these frequent self-inflicted melodramas, Sophia possessed a remarkable resilience, a quiet inner strength that consistently pulled her back from the brink of despair. Her naturally wry optimism, a healthy dose of self-deprecating humor, and an almost spiritual devotion to bubble tea with black sugar pearls had become her indispensable emotional toolkit, her go-to remedies for the persistent aches of modern life. Deep down beneath the layers of self-doubt and sardonic wit, Sophia still clung to a fragile, persistent hope. A hope that destiny, in its infinite and occasionally baffling wisdom, might eventually decide to cut her a break, that her elusive dream prince would, against all odds, actually materialize, offering her a love story ripped from the pages of a particularly extravagant fairytale, a romance both profoundly fated and utterly, gloriously extraordinary. And naturally, this hypothetical prince had to be, by definition, utterly special, gloriously unique, and demonstrably unlike any human male she had previously encountered in her 25 years on this planet. Romantic idealism, it seemed, was not merely a personality quirk for Sophia, it was practically a defining characteristic. Sophia gave her bubble tea another gentle swirl, mesmerized by the hypnotic dance of the dark pearls within the creamy liquid, then took a long, deeply satisfying gulp. The intense sweetness, the almost indecently rich texture, seemed to momentarily soothe the low-level anxieties and simmering worries that perpetually hummed beneath the surface of her consciousness. Her gaze, momentarily unfocused, drifted towards the perpetually churning street scene beyond the cafe's open-air facade. Hold on a minute, a subversive little thought, unbidden and slightly audacious, suddenly sparked in her mind. Isn't being perpetually single actually trendy these days? I'm pretty sure I saw a meme about it. Maybe I should just lean into this whole single thing, rebrand myself as stylishly unattached, for maximum coolness points. But with the speed and efficiency of a well-programmed algorithm, Sophia's pragmatic inner voice swiftly asserted itself, ruthlessly squashing the nascently rebellious notion. Oh, please, Sophia, get a grip. Forget about trends. Single is still resolutely, undeniably single. No amount of trendiness is going to magically evaporate this persistent, low-grade loneliness. All my friends are smugly coupled up. If I remain unattached indefinitely, I'm genuinely concerned I'll spontaneously fossilize, ending up as a dusty exhibit in a forgotten wing of the Natural History Museum. No, absolutely not. This simply will not do. I have to actively, aggressively escape this single existence. I have to locate a boyfriend, preferably a reasonably attractive and emotionally available one. I have to experience a proper grown-up romance just like everyone else. And yet, the very concept of dating in the modern era is starting to feel less like a path to romantic fulfillment and more like navigating an elaborate, high-stakes minefield. Sophia continued her increasingly frantic internal monologue, sinking deeper into a spiral of existential contemplation. All the potential romantic partners I've managed to attract thus far have, without exception, turned out to be monumental disappointments, textbook examples of jerks, players, and certified bad boys. Actually attempting to date them has consistently resulted in precisely one outcome: heartbreak, followed by a prolonged period of emotional recovery involving copious amounts of ice cream and an unhealthy level of K-drama consumption. Perhaps, just perhaps, it might be strategically wiser to simply remain single. But then, if I resign myself to eternal singledom, I'll inevitably descend into a pit of profound loneliness and existential angst. Dating is demonstrably painful. Being single is demonstrably lonely. What in the name of all that is holy is love, anyway? Why is it exponentially more convoluted and baffling than advanced trigonometry? Fine, Sophia mentally declared, decisively shelving the entire, hopelessly tangled love conundrum for future consideration. Best to just banish this whole mess from my conscious mind, at least for the next few hours. Focus, Sophia, focus. Deadline looming, must prioritize gainful employment. Concentrate on actually finishing this freelance assignment, then retreat home and immerse myself in the comforting, predictable world of Korean romantic comedies. In K-dramas, at least, handsome princes and charming oppas are plentiful, readily available, and demonstrably less emotionally damaging than real-life dating. Why bother actively searching for romantic fulfillment in the chaotic, unpredictable real world and just actively inviting potential emotional carnage? The sudden, insistent trill of her phone sliced through the relative quiet of the cafe, jarring Sophia from her increasingly convoluted internal debate. Startled, she instinctively reached for her phone, which had been lying face down on the table, vibrating gently. The screen illuminated, displaying an incoming call from Sarah, Sophia's best friend since kindergarten, practically a platonic soulmate. Sophia answered the call, her voice still carrying a trace of weary resignation. "Hello, Sarah, what's happening?" Sarah's voice erupted from the phone's speaker, a burst of pure, unadulterated energy laced with theatrical intrigue. "Hey, you perpetually single woman, where in the world are you right now? Get your rear in gear and haul it over to the coffee shop, stat. I have some absolutely earth-shattering, life-altering news to unload on you." Sophia sighed audibly, her tone now bordering on genuine exasperation. "Oh, for crying out loud, Sarah, what possibly qualifies as earth-shattering news this time? I swear, if I have to endure one more breathless recounting of your latest melodramatic romantic entanglement." Sarah, however, was having none of it, cutting Sophia off with a theatrical gasp of mock offense. "Hey, watch it with the melodramatic accusations, okay? This time, I swear on my favorite lipstick, it's genuinely, seismically different. And crucially, it directly involves the hot guy Eros you've been mooning over approximately 24 hours a day." The name Eros, however improbable, acted like an electric jolt. Sophia physically recoiled, nearly sending her half-consumed bubble tea flying across the table. "Eros? What hot guy Eros? Are you seriously suggesting Eros as in the actual mythological god of love, that Eros?" Sarah's voice dropped to a conspiratorial murmur, dripping with theatrical mystery. "Just get yourself over here pronto and prepare to have your mind officially blown. Seriously, Sophia, hurry up, I am dying to spill. You will not believe this." And with that cliffhanger of a pronouncement, Sarah terminated the call with a dramatic click, leaving Sophia sitting bolt upright in the small, otherwise unremarkable coffee shop, a whirlwind of confusion and rapidly escalating curiosity swirling in her brain. Eros, the actual god of love, is he experiencing some sort of divine midlife crisis? Has he been unexpectedly laid off from his celestial duties? Why on earth would the literal embodiment of romantic love have even the slightest interest in meddling in the mundane, hopelessly single life of a decidedly ordinary mortal like me? Sophia shook her head slowly, a gesture of bewildered disbelief, attempting to logically dismiss the increasingly outlandish notion. But simultaneously, a powerful, almost irresistible current of anticipation was beginning to surge within her, a compelling, almost primal urge to unravel the enigma behind Sarah's cryptic, utterly improbable pronouncement. Sophia clicked her tongue again, a complex sound that conveyed a mixture of weary resignation and rapidly intensifying curiosity. She pushed back her chair, stood up to settle the bill for her now lukewarm bubble tea, and then practically sprinted towards her scooter, her mind already racing ahead to the rendezvous point Sarah had so urgently and so mysteriously designated. Little did Sophia suspect, as she navigated the still gridlocked city streets, that this utterly unexpected encounter with the enigmatic hot guy Eros, about which Sarah was so tantalizingly cryptic, would indeed prove to be the overture to a love story that would shatter every single one of her preconceived notions about romance. A truly extraordinary, utterly unbelievable, and undeniably life-altering affair.